know, we've been talking about Popl and how it's going to affect us in our business, right? So one of the major questions after we've, now gotten a Popl, now, set up our Popl, how to incorporate it, right? How to use it to get more referrals, to get more contacts, to get more leads, right? More leads means more sales at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how some ways that I've been able to incorporate Popl into my presentation. So that way it's not just like something extra, it's almost part of the process, if that makes sense. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be able to share my screen. So one of the biggest things that Popl has been able to do, and even before Popl, was Google reviews. Okay, as we know, guys, anything you can look up, right? Most people go on Google, whether it be a restaurant, right? Oh, how good is that restaurant? Let me see how many stars it has out of 5 stars on Google, right? This adventure park, whatever it may have you, everybody uses Google for multiple things, right? Well, one of the things that Popl allows us to utilize is Google reviews. Okay, so as you'll be able to know, right? We've set up all our links through Popl, whether it be Google reviews, contact information, all that stuff. And not only do I like having clients be able to give me Google reviews, but I also like to show some credibility in terms of Google reviews I've already received, right? So these are some of my Google reviews that I've been able to take right off of Google, crop them so that they can all fit on one page, and just expressing how clients were very pleased with the process and how they were able to get educated, et cetera, right? I use it big for credibility, whether we're working with, a hard card union or a federal credit union. One of the things that I emphasize is the reason why your credit union has me specifically working with them is I'm actually one of the top representatives out of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton office, and just to show some credibility of that, here's my Google reviews, right? So it also establishes more credibility on top of the credibility that, the videos or what your PowerPoint presentation is already kind of establishing for you, okay? So that's one little tip, one little trick of making sure that we're incorporating Popl into our presentation. Another thing is actually incorporating the actual Popl, right? So I'm going to get into that next, and this is that next slide. So, this slide is typically towards the end of my presentation. The next 2 slides up towards the end of my presentation, whether it be a sale or non-sale, if I have to be honest with you. If it's a sale, of course, you want to milk it as much as you want, as they say. But what I was able to do, and what you guys will be able to do, is when you have Popl comes with a QR code, okay? And the QR code is very, very, very unique to multiple other QR codes. As we know, if we go to Dunkin' Donuts and order a, caramel latte, you'll see right on that, beverage, they have a QR code, right? You go to restaurants nowadays, and most restaurants don't even really have menus anymore. They'll have a QR code where you're able to order from that, right? So what this QR code is special because it's going to update constantly as you update your Popl profile so that clients can see, okay? So basically, as you can see here, I have scanned the QR code to have all my direct information as I am your agent and, and work for you, right? So this, that sentence obviously refers to someone who, you just made a sale with, right? You're closing now, you're doing that. I like to call the closing report, right? Making sure that they have their information, making sure that they know that you're accessible to them, right? So this is one way of having people have my information then versus me just telling them, okay, guys, I'm going to give you my name and my number. No, bang, one easy gesture to be able for them to have all of that, okay? Also, I have on there is please leave a Google review on how well I did to service you and your family. So remember, this first slide is probably the 3rd or 4th slide in my presentation, right? So it's in the very, very beginning that they're seeing my Google reviews, establishing credibility, et cetera, right? We follow that up with this, and not only will they be able to also see those Google reviews, and more so, the I should say, more of the Google reviews that I have on there, but it also allows them to give a review themselves and talk about the experience that they had with myself, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other thing about it with the QR code is it allows them to sponsor family and friends into the exclusive benefits. As we know, we're kind of like the VIP of what we do, right? Not everybody has access to us. So using your QR code to be able for them to not only scan to have your contact information, but also if you have, your Calendly linked up to your Popl, which a lot of us do, okay, the people can share your Popl, right? Your Popl QR code, scan it, and then they can schedule themselves into their schedule so that they can get service just like their friend or their family member was serviced previous to them. Okay. So this is one thing that I utilize. Now, it depends on the SIP, right? If you're dealing with older clients, they might not be pretty tech savvy. So if I got to be honest with you, the Popl might not work in that scenario, or might not be best fit for that scenario, right? But if they're younger, if they have kids and stuff like that, everybody is attached to their phones nowadays with social media, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be easy for them to basically scan it, right? So there's two different ways you can utilize this, right? If my client is not on their phone, right? They're on a tablet, they're on a laptop, okay? What I'll have them do is just grab their phone and scan it right through me sharing my screen like how I'm doing with you guys, okay? They'll be able to pick it up, they scans it, they'll be able to connect with me, and they'll have all my contact information. Like I said, access to the Google reviews, access to the, AIL Plus app, the Child Safety Kit app, the Child Safety Kit video, all the things that we pretty much have to offer. They have access to those things, okay? But not only that, like I mentioned to you before, they can share the QR code within itself, right, to other friends and family so that they can get sponsored to the program, okay? So that's one way of sharing my Popl. So like I said, if they're not on their actual phone, they're on a laptop, they're on a tablet, I'll just have them grab their phone and scan it, okay? But let's say they are on their phone. Let's say they don't have a tablet, they don't have a laptop or a computer available, right? What you're able to do through Popl is you're actually able to send Popl as a link to their phone number. So like I said, whether if it's your client, you just finish enrolling the family, et cetera, you're going to exchange information with them anyway, right? You want them to have contact with you, okay? So basically, all you would have to do is have, their number, right? And you can push in Popl for you to share your Popl to their number, and it'll automatically send everything that's associated with your Popl to them. And now they have access to it that way. So there's one of two ways that you can do it. You can have people actually scan your QR code, or you can actually send your Popl, as long as you have their number or their email, whatever may have you, to them, and they'll have access to everything. Okay. And then the last thing I do, and I do this more so to visualize, right? When we're calling clients, we basically tell them, have you ever used Zoom before? Okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to receive an email. You have to click that email. So we lay out things so that it's very, very easy, and it's very, very easy for them to follow. Okay. So the reason why I have this here is I want them to know what Popl looks like as soon as they would open it up and see what has access, right? So put it here. You can send your, friends and family the Popl link. You can have friends and family click on the sponsorship tab, right? Which is where my Calendly is set up, and they can schedule themselves into my schedule, right? So this requires a little bit of coaching with the current client that you're sitting with. Hey guys, like I mentioned to you before, you guys have been able to give 5 families temporary access into your benefits, right? So then you collect those 5 different families, right? Okay, one of the things that I've been able to do using my Popl is roll appointments very, very easily, whether it be child safe or contingent or insurance referrals. Once I collect them, once they know, for example, with a contingent beneficiary, that I'm going to be contacting them, that I have to sit with them, that I have to go over, what we just did to protect their family so that the entire family is protected. Basically, I'm able to show this, right? Basically say, okay, Anthony, for example, all right, your brother Anthony, I know you sponsored, he's a contingent beneficiary, I have to get in contact with him. Can we give him a call real quick? Sure, perfect. Okay. We give him a call. He picks up. We set the appointment. We say, hey, we need to meet with you. We have to go over some things with you so that everybody's protected. Okay. I can now go into my Popl, click the sponsorship tab, and pretty much set the appointment while I'm on the phone with them and say, hey, so I'm setting the appointment for you right now. You should just receive an email to email that has the Zoom link for our appointment. And all you have to do is during that time, click that link. It'll open up, and that's where you will see my big head, my big nose, and my big hair at the end of the day. Sorry for the bad hair day, right? But basically it makes it easy for me to roll those quality referrals so that way they're right on the schedule. Okay. But these are a couple of different ways that you're able to incorporate Popl into your presentation, so that way it doesn't seem like an extra thing, right? This is something that is just part of the process. This is something that ultimately, is just what happens, right? So these couple ways, like I said, you have your Google reviews. You want to make sure that you're building that up. You want to collect some Google reviews so that way, clients, you're able to use them so that you could gain that more credibility, right? You have your actual QR code, which is interchangeable. As many times as you change the links on it, as soon as somebody scan it, we'll have those changes. That's why your QR code is very unique. So being able to have it on the screen, and you can actually customize it, which is obviously how you see my picture there at the end of the day. You can have any picture there to customize it, but I have myself there. They can scan it. It'll bring them to my Popl, right? And then I also have laid out what, once they scan it, once they were open it, what it looks like so that they have a visual, right? So that they can say to their friends and family when they want to sponsor them and how to, right? It's not only me explaining, they're relaying the message to those guys, okay? And basically, guys, that's a couple of ways to incorporate Popl into your presentation. So we basically talked about how to incorporate Popl, right? And most of the things that I had talked about before was, with the client, with, a referrer already and things like that. But one of the things I want to talk about is basically sitting with clients and maybe we didn't get them enrolled, right? How we can still incorporate our Popl, so that it gets utilized, right? And one of the reasons why I was so big on Popl to bring this up to the team and everything else is because it basically creates more eyes to what we do, right? If we think about recruiting, one of our avenues is to get, the person that we're trying to possibly recruit to ask us, what do we do? So then we can explain and then basically, pique their interest, so to speak, right? So it's the same sort of concept with a non-sale or a non-enrollment, right? Let's say you go through the whole presentation, but for whatever reasons we didn't get them enrolled. Okay, well, we've all heard, hey Anthony, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me, based off of everything you were, all the education and everything you were got offered today through your union or through your credit union. They're going to tell you, oh, hopefully 9, hopefully 10, even though it's a non-sale. Oh, I appreciate that, Anthony. And one of the biggest things, I appreciate that. I appreciate that compliment. One of the biggest things, for us is, you were able to take advantage of the education, take advantage of the different benefits, but there's so many people, that haven't had that education, that, don't even have access to some of these benefits at the end of the day, right? So what we ask is for you to brainstorm, a couple of people, that just had, right? That just had a baby, just got married, just bought a house, a couple of people that maybe didn't or never received the education that you received, so that maybe they can take advantage of it, right? And that's how you're still able to, everything that I talked about before in terms of having your QR code or being able to send them your Popl is ways that you're able to have the non-sale or the non-enrollment refer other people in, right? And one of the things, and one of my biggest tips about non-sales or non-enrollments is, you want to make them feel good, right? You don't want them to feel bad, whatever the situation, whether it be affordability or they have some outside coverage already, maybe they have their ducks in a row and stuff like that. You never want them to feel bad about it, because at the end of the day, if they feel bad, they're not going to refer anybody in, right? So let's say it's a non-enrollment. Let's say they had coverage out, already outside of working. Honestly, Anthony, you guys did a great job. Most of the people I meet with don't have their P's and Q's set up like how you do, and basically, what the company is asking, or in what your union is asking for, is for you to sponsor in family and friends that maybe don't have their P's and Q's, because if I gotta be honest, you're ahead of the curve, right? So it makes them feel good, and it won't make them reluctant to, even though they didn't participate in an enrollment or in the service, they still are like, you know what, this guy credited me, he's cool. I did learn a couple of things today. Let me think about so and so. Let me think about my friend. Let me think about this family member. And those are ways how you can incorporate Popl and your QR code and a non-sale. Like I said, and like me and Anthony said from the beginning, our Popl was meant to create more referrals, so we create more avenues, right? And remember, this is a numbers game. The more people we talk to, the more opportunities we have, the more opportunities we have to enroll parents or families and get them protected at the end of the day. So I wanted to go over that as well with you guys, because it's a big thing. We're going to run into it. Nobody's 100% close ratio, even though some of us probably think so, or whatever the case may be. Nobody's 100% close. So not being able to shell up just because you didn't enroll that family is a way to be able to not only make them feel good about it, but also to get them to refer or sponsor in family and friends that don't have their P's and Q's, that don't have the education that you were able to receive today. So that's a couple of things. And I know Anthony's going to talk about being able to use Popl anywhere, any place, anyhow. So take it over.
Awesome. So now you guys know how to utilize Popl in your presentation, and being able to create more referrals using Popl from the people that we sit down with from the lead-based system and the people that they refer in as well. All right. Now, how about anywhere, right? We could utilize Popl anywhere that we go, like we stated before, and that's what I'm going to go over here today for you guys is, when we approach a stranger, anybody, how we're going to be able to utilize Popl to create that person to be a client. Okay. Very simple. Guys, understand that every interaction is a transaction for you. Okay. Every interaction is an opportunity for you to make that person your client, to get that person on your schedule, or even have that person refer somebody else in the program, whether they're going to get on your schedule or not. And it's very simple. Okay. We're all very unique people, and we're all our own person, which is why we're all great here at the company. Okay. So being able to utilize that in your everyday interactions is going to help you get that advantage and take your game to the next level. All right. So very simple, anyone that I have come within inside 3 feet of me, that's going to be somebody that I'm going to potentially have that person either be my client or refer somebody in. And it's all about the initial engagement. You could approach it a couple different ways, really one of 3 ways. One is opening up the conversation with a compliment. Complimenting somebody is going to be able to spark a conversation for them to talk with you, and then move that conversation forward. Okay. That's one way. Another way is that we use this for personal recruiting, but you could also use it for getting a client. I swear I've seen you somewhere. Where do you work at? I swear I've seen you at the gym somewhere. What gym do you go to? That's going to be a conversation starter to be able to take that conversation to the next level. Okay. Those are really the 2 avenues that I personally use to spark that conversation with that person, to be able to take the interaction into a transaction. Okay. So now when you have that first initial conversation, it's very important to be your unique self. Okay. Because like we said before, they buy you before they buy the company, and then before they buy the products, right? So don't be afraid to be yourself when you're having these everyday conversations, interactions, because they will turn into those transactions if you take the proper steps from that first initial conversation to the next level. Now, how do you do that? Very simple. Okay. Very, very simple. It's all about asking questions. For myself, my dad, he's in his 60s now. So I always, refer an older person that I might run into to my father. For example, I compliment a nice man at the store because he held the door for me. Very simple. We're going to spark a conversation, and then right from there, hey, I've been in the financial service industry for almost 5 years now, or 6 years now. However, you've been in the industry for, you remind me just like my dad. The funny thing is, though, I've been financial planning with my father for years. And to be honest with you, when I first got in this industry, my dad was caught by surprise with a lot of things. Now, what I do is I help people plan for retirement, and we serve 40,000 union members. Now, the most important thing is we're a private company. So, like, if we didn't run into each other today, we wouldn't even have the opportunity to receive any of that education whatsoever that we're going to talk about. Very simple. From that point, same thing. Have them scan the Popl, send them the QR code wallet. And then from there, you're going to have your Calendly linked up in there for them to simply put themselves on the schedule. Or they might know somebody who will if they don't themselves. Very simple. So first, step one, spark the initial conversation by a compliment, or by simply, I swear I've seen you at the gym. I swear I've seen you at the grocery store, whatever, to spark the initial conversation. And then taking it from there, for me, I like to use my father as an example, because it's something that hits home for people, especially with those older folks that you might run into, showing that relatability, because they are going to think of you as like their son, who's there to help them, right? So very simple, guys. Being able to utilize Popl with anybody, it's a very simple step. 1, engage that initial conversation. 2, being able to relate. 3, being able to have them tap the device or send them the QR code to get them on the schedule. Okay.